Hi everyone, my name is Sam Grant, and I am studying game design and production at Abertay. Having lived around Dundee my whole life, video games have always surrounded me. At Abertay this has been no different, with my new favourite memories surrounding games being the ones I have making games with friends. Although initially failing to get into Abertay straight out of high school, I eventually got here through a 2-year HND in game design at Dundee and Angus College. My honours project, titled Games in Cognitive Behavioural Therapy, took the form of a role-playing video game I have called Sonder. This project aimed to explore how video games could change perspectives around mental health and how we can use video game mechanics and storytelling to educate players on healthy practices, with the goal to create a video game which could teach players lessons from cognitive behavioural therapy with the potential to aid in these CBT treatments. The initial inspiration came from a problem. With mental health treatment becoming more and more common, the NHS is struggling to handle the numbers, especially during quarantine. This got me looking for how someone like me, an aspiring game designer, could help. After finding examples like SuperBetter, a very successful CBT application, whose goal was to use gaming techniques to tackle the mental health crisis. Cognitive behavioural therapy is a talking therapy which aims to help people manage their problems by changing the way they think and act. The basic theory behind CBT is that what we think, how we feel, and how we behave are all closely connected, and all these factors have a decisive influence on our well-being. CBT is most used to treat anxiety and depression, but can be useful for many mental and physical health issues. Around about the same time, Animal Crossing had gained huge popularity with many claims of positive effects on mental health, which then got me thinking, what if I took a game like Animal Crossing and designed it to actually help the player? And by merging the two, I had the basis for a project. After a lot of reading, I started to prototype mechanics in Unity. I also began planning things like sprints, which would look to implement the game's quests. After nailing down the core concepts, next thing on the list was asset creation. By creating modular, reusable assets, I was able to streamline this process, with a little help from the Unity store, which helped me flesh out the look and feel of the game so I could focus on the design aspects, such as how to teach the player CBT techniques. To do this, I first narrowed down the 4 lessons I wanted to teach: cognitive restructuring, exposure therapy, grounding, and psychological maintenance. Each of these lessons were translated into a video game context, whether that be a quest, game mechanic, or minigame. The cognitive restructuring quest teaches the player about cognitive restructuring by teaching the player how to identify errors in their thinking. The exposure therapy quest teaches the player about exposure therapy through a reenactment. The player goes through the stages of a typical exposure therapy activity, with the goal of teaching the exercise's structure. The grounding minigame teaches the player about a common grounding technique by mimicking the game-like activity that is the 5-4-3-2-1 technique. The player's garden collects weeds throughout the game, but also collects flowers through the completion of quests. The goal of the gardening mechanic is to teach the player just learning the techniques is not enough to be healthy. Here you can see an example of the dialogue scripts. These scripts allow for multiple choice, therefore multiple pathways for completion. I believe that a project like this could help remove stigma as well as educate patients as well as the general public on topics such as mental health. In particular, with cognitive behavioural therapy, lessons can be helpful for all, whether or not they have a mental health condition. The original proposal for this project was for the game to be used alongside traditional cognitive behavioural therapy. Depending on the market, I could see the game being further developed for classrooms, therapy, or even sold as an independent game. For me, I'll be looking for an industry design role to further develop and hone my skills. In the meantime, I'm looking to further develop Sonder with a small team of friends. To find this or more of my work, you can go to my social medias or my own personal website shown on screen. On my website you can find videos as well as deeper dives into each project. Thank you for watching and have a lovely day.